Assalamualaikum and a terrific Thursday morning, everyone. Okay, thank you for joining us in this special edition webinar with the topic of harnessing the power of IoT. I am Zura Huzali, Business Development Director of FAVORIOT, and I will be the moderator on your Wesak holiday morning. All right. Okay, first of all, allow me to introduce our panelists for today. We have here Dr. Mazlan Abbas, co-founder and CEO of FAVORIOT, a TEDx speaker who is also ranked among top 50 global thought leaders on the Internet of Things and digital disruptions in 2019 by Thinkers 360. And next is Dr. Gopinath Rao. Hi, Doctor. Co-founder and CTO of FAVORIOT, who is an expert in IPv6 and Internet of Things. He's also currently a chairman of IoT Working Group under Malaysian Technical Standards Forum Berhad, MTSFP. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zura. Doing great on this Wesak day.
Awesome. Okay, so in this special edition webinar, I will break it into two sessions for our panelists today. First session will be presented by Dr. Mazlan on some brief introduction on IoT and IR 4.0, the benefits, and guide you on the best approach or strategy to put into IoT into action. All right. And meanwhile, in the second session, Dr. Gopi will demo and guide you on how to make use and utilize the IoT technology. Okay, and in the meantime, all our members today can drop in your questions or any comments, and we shall address it towards the end of this webinar. All right, cool. So I guess let us start with Dr. Mazlan's session today.
Okay, thank you very much, Zura. Good morning, everyone. And maybe today is a slightly different session as what we had previously on Sembang Santai Technology. Yep. Today we will share more, a little bit more in depth about the Internet of Things, not only about the overall scenario of IoT development, but we also would like to share to you about how you can develop your IoT solutions as easy as possible. And with that, I would like to start my presentation in sharing you how we can harness the power of IoT, or in fact, how can we harness the power of all the IoT developers that we have around the world. But let me take a step back. IoT have given us the opportunity to create innovative solutions, and anything that you feel that there's asset that you want to be connected, you can do that. And with that, you can solve a lot of issues. Sometimes the issues of getting better efficiency, getting better productivity, and making sure that you can have a better retention of your customer loyalty, or even create new products. That is the power of IoT. And if you take a look at IoT's relation towards the Industrial Revolution 4.0, we have seen that there are two terms that people always have heard: the Industry 4.0, or Malaysia's version of Industry Forward, they call it, or the Fourth Industrial Revolution. Initially, when World Economic Forum and the rest of the world talk about the Industry 4.0, it's very much related to smart manufacturing sector. So in the era of 1.0, where everyone is using steam engine to to produce their equipments, their goods and all that, handle their factory. But when electrical have been introduced, they can do this more on a mass production. And Industry 4.0, where electronic circuits, IC, automation is being introduced, computers and electronics, your databases. And then we have the in the cyber physical world, the era of Industrial 4.0. In fact, if we look at the overall Fourth Industrial Revolution, because we want IoT not only related to smart manufacturing, it should be covered the rest of the industrial sector. It should cover like education, healthcare, agriculture, services, government. So it covers the whole era. So if you look at the whole industrial revolution, you can feel it. You know when exactly that you are in this era. So in the era of 1.0, we know that if you use everything on physical tools, manual and all that, that is the era of 1.0. When it's 2.0, when you use machines, which is only electrical powered, that is only 2.0. 3.0, as you know, we use computers, automation, databases. And this is where the digital transformation comes in place. And this is a very important point that we are at the verge of totally digital, especially in the COVID-19 era that we're facing now. Everyone needs to be connected. In the fourth industrial revolution, you see that the element of intelligence is going to be built in. So you see technologies which covers various technologies like robots, drones, blockchain, IoT, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, virtual reality. Everything comes in place. So take a look at how we can evolve our education system, so-called in 1.0 era towards 4.0. So this is when you will see that every time when you use, blackboard, whiteboard, that is 1.0. So you use OHP, transparency, then you use 2.0. And 3.0 is when you use online. And this is where you use your computer to project, projector using your computer to project it for education purpose. And of course, in the era of 4.0, you might even use robots or augmented reality to teach students. So if you are in this particular era, then you will know exactly where you are. And we can see that there's a big gap between us in the rural areas and in the urban areas and the rural areas. So how can we bridge that gap? So the transformation needs to come in place. And IoT is especially in the era of 4.0. So to understand IoT further, let's take a look at the main components of IoT. We know that IoT must comprise, that's mandatory, it must comprise of sensors. The analog sensors that we have as a human, the 5 sensors that we have, is now being digitalized. You have 18 sensors, 20 sensors within a smartphone. Your smartphone itself is a device which is an IoT device because it has all the gyrometer, accelerometer, GPS, microphone, camera. It all depicts the human analog sensors into digital, right? And from that sensors, you must find a way for this information to be extracted or to be pushed out to an application. So you need a wireless connectivity or fixed network. And mainly in IoT, devices are very small, so it always connect on wireless communications. And because it's less powered, it can be battery based. So you might have a different kind of network that cater for IoT. The previous kind of network, wireless communications, you have heard about like ZigBee, RFID, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and then we have the normal 2G, 3G, or to 5G. But now, because of the battery, the battery is much less power consumption, and you want to last it much longer, and you want to have a bigger distance, a longer distance, or bigger coverage. You need a network for IoT specifically. So that's why you heard about Sigfox, LoRa, Narrowband IoT. So these are the new kind of network. It's meant for low speed, low data, amount of data that can be sent through this kind of network. And of course, after you have sent the network, where are you going to place all this data? There are various places that you can do it. You can have your own platform, you can have your own server, but sometimes your own server only limit in terms of one specific IoT protocol, maybe REST protocol, that's it. But it cannot cater for different multiple protocols. So for example, like CoAP, constraint device protocol, you need to have MQTT protocol, So that kind of protocol requires to be supported on a single platform because that platform might cater for different kind of devices. This is where the IoT platform plays a role. They manage the devices, the hardware, but it also allows you to open up to the developers, the IoT developers who wants to create the applications. So that fourth component of applications can be, is actually the developer who create different workflow, creating insights, deriving insights about the data itself. Okay. So the main reason when we ask ourselves why exactly that we want to have IoT is because it depends on your situation. Most likely you want to know about your asset which is very far away, which is not within you, sometimes very far away. It can be your fridge, normal fridge. It can be the lights, the car, even the health of the person is an asset. So once you identify the asset, you want to find ways of how to connect, how to get the information from the asset, sensors which is related to the asset. If the asset is you want to know is about location, you must put sensors like GPS. If the asset is something like you want to know the health of the person, you put sensors like blood pressure, heart rate, and so on onto the asset, on a wearable device. That's how assets are connected through the internet with relevant sensors. But assets also can also be used to monitor the surrounding. So you might have a camera, other assets like temperature, humidity, that sense the whole surrounding of that particular device that you put into maybe a room. You like to know whether the room is being occupied, what's the temperature of the room, and the humidity, and so on and so forth. So with that, you will know a lot of things. As a customer, as a product developer, they would like to know how the their customers use the asset, what features that they use, how frequent it is used, and from there it will able to understand further of how to improve their product. For example, like washing machine. When you have washing machines, the only time that you know your washing machine works and what features is by getting a survey, normal survey. But what if you put sensors inside the washing machine that tells you how frequent the washing machine is being used, what time is being used, what kind of detergent is normally being used, when exactly that, So with that, you will know how the asset is used, whether it needs to be repaired or not. It depends on the wear and tear of the assets that you are monitoring. So with that, normally, because if you see the whole ecosystem, it's not easy for single companies to actually give a total solution. You will need to work with different partners. And if you look at the 4 components of the whole ecosystem, the sensors, the connectivity, the platform, and the applications, you can also break up in more detail of how the whole IoT ecosystem works. It can start with a very small chip, the smart modules, the chipset. And from the chipset players, they put into a device. Then you can see devices like smartphone, all of this. These are the devices. But inside the device, there are chipset and sensors within them. So these are the device players. And from there, you need the connectivity player, the telcos or whoever provide the connectivity. And then from there, you need a platform together to connect, aggregate all the data. And that's where like FAVORIOT plays in that role. So we help users to send their data on a single platform. Okay. From there, you need to open up the API of the platform to allow a system integrator who are the best people who can create the applications. They will put pieces together, how to connect the sensors, to find the right connectivity protocol, and to create an applications. Okay? So you have applications player, which is specifically for like very fleet management vertical. You have people who look at smart energy, you look at smart buildings, smart cities. So these are the applications. And some of them are working on analysis, big data analysis. And of course, by the end of the day, you might not be able to sell it directly. You can work with your own partners. So this ecosystem must be very conducive. We have to work together because not everyone is specialized in everything. They are specialized in one area. So that's why the main reason for us to create this ecosystem and to understand who are the players in Malaysia. So by the time we have a project, we can call our partners and we can stitch the whole things together. And of course, we have the R&D and the universities, institutions who does more in-depth research of how to improve, enhance the protocol, the platform, and the system itself. So when we talk about platforms, because this is one of the things that we like to focus here, it's about the platform itself. So the platform in the whole world, there are so many platforms. Now it has reached more than 600 over platforms. And it can be very confusing, very difficult for you to identify and evaluate what kind of platform to be used. And of course, we would like to simplify that. And there are certain platforms which is very vertical oriented, meaning to say this platform is only meant for certain applications. For smart energy, they are energy oriented IoT platform. Or smart parking platform, they are very much on parking platform. But there are also platform which is very horizontal. Horizontal in the sense that it allows you to create your own vertical. You can come in and you can create your smart parking, smart building, smart energy, smart office, so on and so forth. So that is the platform, it's horizontal. So there are different players who have approached this business in different manner. And some have the strength in managing devices. Some have the strength in managing the database. Some have the strength in managing the applications. So this is quite confusing to many people, and that's why we as whoever that in the game, for example, like FAVORIOT, we identify ourselves as a horizontal platform that we can manage the devices much easier. That's our main strength. And of course, we also have an open API to allow application developers to create their own applications. You take a look at this, it's quite heavy and a lot of players inside an IoT ecosystem. And this is not Malaysia, unfortunately, these are the countries. So what we want is to have Malaysia's ecosystem. Where are we in wearables, in personal, in enterprise, in healthcare, in the platform, in the connectivity? All these players we must know where they are. So that's why we encourage to have this ecosystem to be in place. And FAVORIOT also plays a role in the industry to gather all these people, industrial players, to come together and work as a team. Okay, as I mentioned to you just now, the way that you want to approach your IoT solutions can be in many forms, but one way is a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach. But finally, what you need to know is that you must gather the data from the sensors. You turn that into information or knowledge, and then you can derive insights of that. And then finally, in decision-making process, you must take action on of that. So it's useless if you just what you say that you just collect the data, but a dashboard that can show the data, but no one can make an insight or any action towards that. So we have seen the 4 V's of big data, the kind of volume it comes in, the kind of variety, the velocity, and the veracity. So data comes in, in different kind of manner. Sometimes small, sometimes big, sometimes text, sometimes video, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. So that is the 4 V's of big data, and it's quite difficult. So you must be in that area of big data to solve this. And as I mentioned to you just now, in the value pyramid, value data pyramid, the data itself on the below part is pure data. Yeah, data can be the king, but of course, data is like an oil, but it's a black oil. Unless you can turn the oil into something useful, into petrol, kerosene, and so on and so forth for the usage of jets, cars, and what. So if the data, the bits and the bytes, can change into, you can answer the questions of who, what, when about that data, it becomes information. When it translates into how, it becomes knowledge. And when you can answer the question of why, it becomes understanding. The highest part is wisdom, where human is. But that's how the level. So people will pay more if you can answer the questions at the above pyramid. You can collect the data, but the amount, the work that you do maybe doesn't make, as I tell you, if you just send data alone, people will pay you this amount, but you can say that this data that you have collected can increase your revenue by 10%. That is people willing to pay millions of ringgit on that, right? So parking is also the same thing. So if you want to develop any solutions, a smart parking an example, the data that being collected telling you that the car on the sensors, in the ferromagnetic sensors that sense the iron of the car on the parking lot, it will tell you empty or full. But that's it. People willing to pay if you can tell them who parked at that lot, what kind of vehicle, where is the parking empty parking lot, when is the peak period. People are willing to pay that kind of information higher. Not only the empty or full, but if you can answer the question of how to implement a tiered parking mechanism, how to find overstayed vehicle, and then finally, you will have the parking operator stating that why my parking utilization is low, how I can increase my revenue for another 10% or 20%, why my parking operator, my competitor is higher than me. So these are the questions that the business decision maker would love to hear. And people are willing to pay hundreds of thousands, millions of ringgit for that kind of information. It's not only the data alone. But of course, to answer all of that, the above questions, you need to find the relevant data to insert or to deploy the right sensors. The right sensors mean who can collect all the information below. The who, the what, the where, and when. Either it's a GPS, either it's RFID tag, either it's a sensor, humidity, temperature, all these sensors are related to that solution. So this is how people will look like, because a lot of people in the other countries, they work on smart parking because they want to reduce the congestion. By reducing the congestion, they will reduce the carbon footprint. By finding the right place faster, you can reduce all that congestion. Okay, parking operator will love to know their parking utilization and where exactly, when exactly, so on and so forth. So to do this whole IoT puzzle requires you to connect all these things together. One side, they have the sensors and the actuators. In the middle side, you have the internet, which connect all the sensors, which relevant depending on the coverage, and the platform itself, which need to aggregate all the sensors with different protocols and open it up for application developers to create it. Okay. So what we see is that to create an ecosystem, we have to start with the right talents. And we see that universities, for example, are trying to refresh their contents to cater for the industries. But unfortunately, a lot of organizations, universities don't have a complete IoT lab. When I say but incomplete IoT lab, is because they only have a standalone system and Arduino connected to a simple server there, and then it connects to their application. So sometimes it doesn't even have a right and middleware. So what we want is that if they can have their own platform within the university. Right? It's the same thing like even when you are doing the training, you might use other people platform overseas and so on and so forth. You can do that too. There are hundreds of IoT middleware. So when students are doing projects, they get confused. There are more than 600 over middleware and they need to evaluate them. And it's very difficult for them. So we can simplify them by having a standard platform to do that. Time constraint. By the time they learn a lot of these things, because they need to learn the sensors, how to develop it, they need to know how to develop the platform, they need to create application. By the time of the project, they only manage to connect the whole system, but the applications is very simple applications. So they don't have enough time to do that. So we would like to rapidly help them to create their own applications. Another thing is that once they finish the project, the data is being owned by them, and that's it, it's lost. So what if we can continue upgrading their project year by year? So by the end of the day, a single module can make a bigger system, and finally it become a commercial system. So we don't want it to be left idle, where the data and the account is being owned by the students, and the lecturers, the universities can't proceed with that kind of project. And of course, sometimes you ask the students to use their own pocket money to buy hardware, so on and so forth. But what if the universities, the training providers have the platform for them, and then it can reduce the cost for them instead of they use their own pocket money. So why an IoT ecosystem can solve all these issues? Because one, it can properly manage the data and the project continuity. It can also standardize the way that you develop your IoT solutions. It can have you can have a better complete IoT lab because it's a commercial platform rather than some simple database or web server. It is a real commercial platform because once you go out, the industry are willing to take you because they know that you have learned all the right middleware and what the commercial IoT middleware. And finally, we want this to make a holistic IoT talent because IoT involves the hardware and the software plus the middleware. So if you can cover the whole 7 layers OSI, you are a multi-stack engineer. You are the best in the market. You can go anywhere, the hardware or the software or the middleware, you are the best. So these are the talents which the industry requires. So this is a platform I don't want to go in more detail, but what we say is that we can allow devices to be connected, and Dr. Gopi will explain to you how you want to use this platform, how you want to get the devices to be connected into the platform easily. And as I mentioned to you just now, it's meant for rapid development. We have user-friendly APIs. We have notification engine, email, Telegram, SMS. We have a lot of source codes, examples, videos that everyone have shared. So we want to increase this number of sharing as a community. So we see that people have been developing, our developers create this kind of application, more tracking, monitoring. These some of the applications. And we have 96 countries around the world with 3,000 over developers have come on board and become the Generation-IoT, the next Generation IoT, who's using our platform, and 80% of them are from Malaysia. So it's good to hear that, and mainly from the universities, the training providers, and the industries are also using this platform. So we want to create more and more users to come on board. So with that, I would like to encourage all of you to join our FAVORIOT IoT community by just scanning our QR code, and it's free. Totally, it's free. Yes, of course, there are some limitations, but it's free. But if you want to upgrade it, you can with a beginner account. But to start your project, you can start it with free. Just scan the QR code here, or later, Dr. Gopi will also explain again, which you can subscribe or register this freely. So we have already more than 3,000 IoT developers around the world. Join us on board. And with that, I would like to pass this to Zura again.
All right. Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. Awesome sharing. Now, without wasting any more time, I will let's move forward to our second session with Dr. Gopi. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you, Zura. Thanks, Doc. That's a great intro. I think we need to first understand how IoT works. I think Dr. Maslan has provided a way on how we can identify what are the components and why is it the data is so important for us to know. So for me, let me just share the slides first and then I will continue. Yeah. Right. Okay. Now, so how to kickstart an IoT journey? Now, if you are new to IoT, then this is something that you should look into. And then if you are already an IoT developer or IoT solution provider, then you may want to use the Power of FAVORIOT platform incorporated within your solution, right? So it is important for us to know what is IoT ecosystem. In fact, Dr. Mazlan has already emphasized a few times. And you may be wondering, why is it that we are re-emphasizing this particular ecosystem over and over again? There are four main components: devices, connectivity, platform, and application. And of course, security must be inbuilt actually. Now, why is it important for us to understand each of the components? Now, if you ask me, if you want to provide a solution, for example, in a farm, you want to know what type of devices that you're going to use, what type of connectivity that you're going to use, because you cannot use Wi-Fi in the farm. You may want to opt for LoRa network if you want to opt for the 4G network, which is have a long-range connectivity. The next is the platform, right? So which I'm going to explain somehow in detail how you can actually make use of FAVORIOT platform for your solution. And on top of that, you want to have a nice application that you want to showcase, you want to display it for your customers or for your own usage. So please, if you are new into IoT, really look into identifying, understanding each of the components in detail. It will really help you in building up an IoT solution. Now, how do you create an IoT solution? First, of course, there are many ways. I've actually listed down here five solutions, 5 steps, I would say. First is that to identify the problems to solve. Most of the time what happens is that we try to build an IoT solution that we think that it is usable, that people want it. But we must see what is the customer's perspective, what exactly is the problem that they're going to solve. Are they solving in terms of increasing the productivity or reducing the man hours, right? Because of shortage of manpower and so on. So these are the problems that we need to identify. Second is to find the right sensors or hardware that has an appropriate communication module. Now, when I say appropriate, as I mentioned earlier, if you are deploying in a farm, you may want to have a LoRa network, a long-range communication network. But if it's in building, maybe a Wi-Fi is sufficient, right? So this is what I mean by sensor with appropriate communication module. Next, you want to create and manage in the platform itself. Take, for example, FAVORIOT platform. So what you need to do is that you need to register, be an account. So you must have an account. Create the components that is required for you to receive data from this hardware. Next, you need to configure. In fact, we have provided a lot of codes, tutorials on how you can actually configure your device to send data to the platform. In fact, we have a detailed explanation, video explanation, step-by-step explanation using various sensors, various programming tools, and so on. So use that tools available, configure your hardware, send it to the platform. Now, once you send the platform, the data will automatically be sent either periodically, depending on how you set your hardware to send the data, right? It depends on the frequency that you send. You can send it every 5 minutes, every an hour, once a day. So it depends on the usage, depends on the problem you're trying to solve. For example, I'll give you an example. If you want to monitor the water meter at your home, right? Of course, you can't do that. Maybe it's part of ISLANGO and so on. What they want to monitor maybe once a day. They don't want to monitor every hour, right? It doesn't make sense. So it's once a day type of sending the data. But in some critical solution, maybe in some health sector, you may want to increase the data. Maybe you want to send every 15 minutes, right? So this all depends on the problems that you're solving and the need for it. Now, once you have all the data stored, data kept in the platform, next step is this to build an application on top of that. Now, so what are the key features that we have in our platform, right? So Dr. Mazlan mentioned out of last year, there are about 600 over platforms, maybe even more. And each platform, they have their own strength, their own purpose. Some are horizontal, some are vertical, some are database specific. There are many features. So you need to evaluate and see what is your needs. Now, what are we offering? These are some of the key features. The first one is that we support multiple communication protocols. The most common that's being used in IoT, as you all know, is REST and QoAP, right? And of course, MQTT. And we support all these three. So you can pick and choose which one that is suitable for you, which one you're familiar with. Second is we have built the platform in a hierarchy base. So I will explain in detail later. Next is real-time data display. If you want to see, data that is being channeled to the platform and you want to view it in a graph, right? So we have a graph that you can display that and see the data in real time. Next is the API key to manage data. Now, each user that's registered are given a 128-bit API key. I know it's a bit long, but that is required for security purpose. And for some cases, what we have add on is that we have also reduced the API key to about 64 bits if you want to use as well. I'll explain that in the next slides. Next, if you configure your data and to check every single data and to see whether it's reached certain threshold, you want to send the alerts in some way. So we have incorporated that as well. So you can send data through email, to SMS or Telegram. Next is you also maybe want to display all the devices that you have actually configured and installed on a map, right? So what you can do is that you can actually configure, when you configure your device, you need to provide the latitude and longitude of that device so that the information of the device is displayed on the map. What kind of information is being displayed? The device name, the real-time data that is being pushed to the platform, and so on. Next is GraphBot. Now, GraphBot is actually a graphical bot where you can view real-time historical data. And you can also share this data publicly, meaning you create a graph, and we have few tools that you can create a graph, few types of graphs that you can choose from. And after that, you actually publicize the graph, right, to make it public. Next too, we have a referral program. If you are part of, if you sign up, become a member or register as a user, you can also refer to other people. And once you refer and they subscribe, you can get some kind of points, which you can redeem later. And the most important thing is that how to share your user portfolio. Now, this is important if you want to actually let other people know what work you have done. What are the IoT projects that you have done? And because what we do is that we share your portfolio to our portal in the favorite portal. And whatever information that you want to display will all be shared publicly. Next. Yeah, so this is a slide Dr. Mazlan mentioned earlier. And to provide all the features that I mentioned earlier, so we have built this platform in a component basis. And at the bottom of this slide here, you see there are many types of devices. It means that you can connect any types of devices. Arduino Raspberry is just a development tool, but you can also buy off the shelf sensors and devices and connect to the platform. The only condition is that you need to support either one of the three protocols that we actually provide, which is the REST, OAP, and MQTT. And once you configure, as I mentioned earlier, you can make use of the features within the platform to harness the data that you have. Now, how to get on board? It's very easy. You just need to go to the platform, platform.favorite.com, and you can register as a free or beginner account. And you can see, even in the first page, without even registering, you can actually go through all the documentation that we have, the API that we provide. We also have a GitHub that consists of all the codes, not only by us, but also by other developers who are willing to share. We also have an active forum. Now, this is where we can actually come in, check what are the issues that you have, or if you have any queries, any questions, you can interact with us. And we also have video tutorials as well. Now, this is what I mentioned by two methods. This is what I mean by hierarchy. Now, why is it important for us to build in this way? It's because to easily manage the different components. So on top, we have projects, and then we have applications, we have groups, devices, and the bottom one is the data streams. If you want to retrieve certain data based on group, you can make use of the API that we have and retrieve the data directly from the group. But if you want to retrieve based on devices, you can also do that. Now, in the platform, we have provided two methods of automatically create this hierarchy. One, of course, the manual creation, where you have to go, you have to create the project, you have to create the application one by one. And these are all interdependent, meaning the streams are dependent to device, device dependent to groups, and so on. The second method is the automatic creation of hierarchy. There's also an option, assuming that you are too lazy to do, create one by one. So what we have done is I just click one, you just provide the project name and device name. it will automatically create all the other components for you. As I mentioned earlier, so we have two types of API key. So you can see this in account setting. One is the long API key, which is about 128 bits. And we have two parts of it. One is the read-write API key. The other one is read-only API key, which is meant for you to send data. And if you have a third-party developer who is going to use the data, you can give the read-only API key to that particular person. The second part is we have the access token. This is a shorter API key, I would say, and specific to device. Now, the earlier API key is meant for all, but device-specific API, the token, are meant for you to be used for example, you want to configure your Telegram bot and so on. So it's a shorter one. So you can use either one if you want to. And this is how you actually send data to MQTT. It's very straightforward, if you ask me. Now, we need to have a publisher and we need to have a subscriber. So publisher actually sends data, and the data or the message sent to the platform. Favorite platform stores the data internally, and at the same time, triggers it and send it to all the subscribers. And this is the standard format. In fact, we have all the full documentation in the documentation section in the platform. And this is a new alert type that we have configured. This is through the Telegram app, but this is only meant for beginner account, not for all the account holders. So these are step by step. First, you need to activate the bot father feature in the Telegram. Next step is need to create a new bot, give a name for it, copy the API token that I mentioned earlier, start the bot, and create new rules in the platform. So what happens is that when you set a threshold in the platform, for example, you said, okay, when the temperature reaches 40 degrees, I should send a message to the bot, right? So you can select either email, bot, or SMS. So when you select Telegram, it will send to the Telegram bot that you have created. And you can also state how many times that you want to send the rules, the message, the alert, either once, twice, and so on. And you can actually restart that number of times that you want to send. The graphs, as I mentioned, there are various types of graphs that you can actually create. It's all real time. And there are two parts. One is the real-time data, one is the historical data. And both of these types of data can be shared publicly. Next, I mentioned earlier, share user portfolio. This is important if you want to publicize your own work so that other people know what you are doing, what type of project that you are doing, whether you are expert in certain areas, right? So people always want, IoT developers, this is some, organization out there, they're looking for two main experts or two main, I would say, categories. One is the IoT developers, the other one is the data scientists. These are the hot jobs, I would say. Now, if you feel that you have done so much, you want to share your profile, this is the best way, right? So share it. You can do this within the platform, the IoT platform, the favorite IoT platform, and you need to publicize it. So once you publicize, what happens, it goes and pushed to the favorite portal where everyone can see, and you can also share it with the other social media if you want to. Now, this is my last slide. So in order for you to come on board, so there are so many features that you can actually explore. This is because of the shortness of time that we have. I need to suppress it, so that I highlight some of the main features. Now we have a limited offer until 3rd July. You can use this voucher code, stay home and code. You get a 50% discount for the subscription. 50% is not that much for an IoT platform, if you ask me, provided that we have so many features that you can make use of. As I mentioned, so you may ask what's the difference between free and subscribed version, a beginner plan. There's a limited number of API calls for free, number of devices that you can create, the use of Telegram, and so on. Now, in a beginner account, we also have a limit, but it's a higher limit of API calls. unlimited number of devices that you can create. You can make use of the Telegram to send the alerts. And on top of that, you can also subscribe SMSs so that you can also send the alerts to SMS, okay, through SMS. So this all. I'll pass it back to Zura.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Dr. Kapi, would you like to share, just go through with the portal?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. Let me just stop sharing. Now, let me just share this. This is the forum, right? So this is a forum. So you can see that there are many topics here. So they have a favorite platform, about MQTT, co-app. So you can actually browse through this. Let me just open up the favorite platform. Can you see this favorite platform?
Yes.
All right, great. Now, so this is the favorite platform. So if you go to home, you will see this is a dashboard, right? You can see the number of projects that you have created, the applications, the number of groups, how many devices are connected. So you can actually make use. So if you can see here, there's a device developer ID. So this is device name. And you can also see the status of each device, whether it's connected or disconnected. And then you can also see the latest data stream. And the bottom, you can see the API limit. From here, you will see the number of API that you have already used from the total limit that you were given. And then here, if you click on the, this is a hierarchy. So if you want to create the project's application manually, so you can do that. Or if you have to create a new hierarchy, you can create by providing the project name and the device name. And all the other components will be created automatically. And here you can see the data stream. Now, these are all real-time data stream. Of course, I've stopped sending data. So you can see, you can in fact export the data if you want to, but that is only for beginner account. So you can scroll down, you can see the data. And one important thing is that if you see here, there's a temperature only, right? So you can provide as many parameters in one single stream. You can have 10 different parameters. You can have 2 parameters. For example, you want to state or you want to send temperature, humidity, motion sensor, all in one. You can also do that. Meaning to say, you can have multiple sensors and you only have one device to collect and send the data at once. So this is the best way for you to configure multiple types of sensors. And then we have GraphBot. So this is what GraphBot is. So just pick one of it. So you can configure. So I've already reconfigured this earlier. So the temperature, this is not real time. Okay, this is the last April 3rd data. You can see the current time. And you can add as many graphs you want. So if you click here, graph, you can choose which type of graph. For example, here you see area graph, pie graph, bar graph, chord, and so on. Okay, and then we have rules. Now I've created many rules here. So what you need to do is that if you want to create rules, you create a rule description, and there is a way for you. There's a specific way you need to code, not to say code, to provide the information, stream.temperature, something. And then if you have 2, then you have 2 set of parameters. If only 1, then 1. And then what you're going to do, send to email or SMS. And because this is a free account, I don't see the Telegram here. But if you configure Telegram, then it will appear here. Okay. And of course, map. You can see these are the information that you can see on the map. So when you click each of the device, you will see the latest data stream that is being pushed to the server. And Of course. All right. So you can see the tutorials. Let me go to documentation. Right. So this is a complete documentation. You can go through, and on the right hand side of the documentation, you will see the scripting languages. There's different scripting languages: Bash, Python, JavaScript. So it depends on what you are familiar with, what you want to use. For example, if it's a JavaScript, it's a Java, so it's a different types of scripting languages. And you can also actually create using direct APIs using different tools, not necessarily through the platform. For example, if you want to create a device, I click here, I click the create device, and there is a create device here. The URL has been given, and how you want to create is by using this. Provide the URL, provide the API key, the content, and you automatically create the device. Right? Right. And then, right. So one important thing is that the API. Now we have provided the API, and this you can also do when you register and also offline. Now, for example, I want to see the data. What I can do is that I click get, right? And I can actually simulate it in the platform itself by providing all the required information. And these are real-time simulation. And all the data that you actually add to, or you want to push it to the platform, will actually push to the platform. Okay. And what else? Yeah, so these are some of the features. So you can please do register and explore it. And if you have any issues with the platform, you can always come back to us. I mean, you can always discuss with us in the forum. And if you have something new that you want to share, please also do share so that other community, IoT platform developer community will also benefit from what we shared. Yeah. Zura? Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Gopi, for sharing the information. So I guess, thank you for many of the members here today. But somehow I think we don't have any questions from the members. Yeah, and I think we're running short of time as well. So hold on, yeah. So I suppose it's actually cool to learn that with more connection comes more data, Dr. Gopi, which means that with more data comes more opportunities for you to innovate and improve processes. And from Dr. Mazlan also, it is already understood that with the right IoT strategies, it can make many positive impact on businesses as well. So why not? Let's embrace and leverage and harness on the Internet of Things to reap the benefits, guys. So FAVORIOT here makes it possible for you to create many different vertical applications in a single platform. And we will always be here to help and consult you to smoothen your IoT journey. So I strongly suggest you to subscribe to our favorite IoT platform by using your promotion code, Stay Home and Code today, and start creating your own unique IoT solutions. Be the next generation IoT, guys. Thanks a lot, Dr. Mazlan.
Thank you.
And Dr. Gopi for your excellent explanation on IoT today.
Yeah, I hope more people will come and share their stories, success stories as well.
Yes, we welcome them. All right. So I guess that's about all. And to all our members here, thank you for joining. And we wish you for a fabulous day ahead. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.